Good morning, everybody. Well, another day back out here to work on the Toyota Hilux Surf. What I'm showing you here is that I had covered the block up with this oily sheet, which is great here in this salty area. Wrap it up. So I wrapped the block up there to keep it clean. Got a bunch of the parts to it all stacked here, other pieces to it all stacked here, and the crankshaft is wrapped up in a oily cloth back down underneath there. Got everything here just sitting, waiting, the old head. I've got the fuel injector covered up and capped. I've got the outlets for the fuel injectors on the injection pump also capped, keep debris out of those. I keep those little rubber caps just for doing that. Anyway, the reason I'm telling you all that's because I thought it was going to be a little while before I was able to get the pistons, the rings, and the liners, because I'm gonna have that block board and I'm gonna put liners inside of it. It doesn't have removable liners right now. It has to be bored and then put them. Number 4 cylinder has received enough moisture damage in it back there that it would be better to refresh that cylinder. It'd be the only way to do it right. And on diesels, you really don't do a lot of boring them out and oversizing them. It changes a lot of the dynamics of how the compression and everything is on it. Pretty much you keep diesels a standard what they were designed to be in the beginning. You don't really get into oversizing them and all. You can slightly, but not much. So I was having a hard time getting the sleeves and the pistons and the rings and all. Company's being really slow to respond, and the company I've been buying these other parts from, they at first said they couldn't locate them. They couldn't find none. Also, they were in the same predicament as me on it. And I kept reaching out to others and companies that would show advertisements. They had them. But then they would just drag me out on responding, and another day and another day and another day. And it just seemed like it's going on forever. I about at my wit's end over it, and I said, well, I think this is going to be a while, and this might have to be put on the back burner, as much as I hate for it to sit. And lo and behold, the company that I've been using up in Manila that first said they couldn't find them, they found them. And not only did they find them, I was shocked to find out that the pistons and all, that the parts are Federal Mogul. Now, Federal Mogul is a well-known name in the United States. Big-time parts manufacturer. A lot of Federal bearings and all, and lots of motors out there. And they are a company right out of Detroit, USA. Right out of Detroit, Michigan there. So, I'm like, what? I saw that Federal box, and I said, really? Federal for a Japanese engine? I didn't know that they made parts beyond just like the U.S. brand motors and all that. And lo and behold, says it right there on the box, the images he sent to me for Toyota 2LTE, And I'm like, wow, that is so awesome. So that's the deal with it. So got the truck right here inside the garage, and I want to show you a little bit of work that we did yesterday. Cap come over and hung out with me. So my intercooler up here, before I put it up across the top of the motor, I know it's some poor lighting here. Let me get over here to this side. So before I had put the intercooler across up here, and some people found that odd, but actually a lot of the motors that they started putting in, the Hiluxes and the Fortuners and different ones, Toyota themselves was even sticking intercoolers up on top. It did starve them for some air, but they were still better than not having one at all. And then on some models, they did it differently. I bought this intercooler in the US before I ordered it, and I brought it here with me. You could probably get it directly here now because shipping's changed a lot. And I had hoped back when I bought it that I could put it down inside the bumper like this. Now, I removed those 2 spotlights there. And for the ones that was questioning, oh, is it legal to have those? Because they are strict on them. This is factory Toyota. and these are factory Toyota light brackets, and this truck was set up to have all of it from getting even a switch inside. So, and this is the license plate bracket. But as you see in the front there, you see that intercooler, and you see this is louvered, and that's what I had hoped for, and it is all looking wonderful in there. And it's just sitting there right now. I got a little wood block underneath it because I'm just mocking it up, and I'll have to make some brackets there for it, and I'll get that wood block out from underneath. I'm just setting up for height and where all the tubing is going to pass through. I'm going to look today. I think I have some rubber mounts, and if so, I'll be able to use some of those underneath, and I'll have to make some little brackets up here. So I could probably just make a bracket attach in here in this core support and come up to this bolt hole right here where I previously had it mounted up there at the top. There's one here on each side. So then to pass the tubing through for the intercooler is going to be pretty simple. The turbo is sitting right here, so it's just basically going to elbow it and bring it through right down in here. I'm going to clean up some of this messy wiring that's been done on this truck as well, but we'll get some of this out of the way so you can better visually see. And I may have to cut a hole like right in here, or I may have to just enlarge this hole. And this air conditioning line's passing here right now. I can adjust all of that because I'm redoing those currently as we speak. So that'll get that side, and then the same thing over here on this side. And this one coming out will go straight over here to the intake. So it's just going to be out of the turbo, through the intercooler, and right back around. And now when you're driving, you'll actually be getting air pushing through, and that's going to go just below the AC condenser right here. And then this AC condenser I brought from the United States from a Toyota 4Runner, and it's the proper one to go in here. When I bought this truck, it had the wrong one, and they had made a bracket and mounted it down underneath the front end. The most stupid thing ever, man. It got hit with everything. It couldn't draw no air. It get caked up with dirt and mud. It was just absolutely absurd that somebody would even do that. So I'm putting it back original. So this is a dryer out of the one from the US. I'm going to put a new dryer on it, but I brought this one to mock it up. These are the correct lines for this truck. I'm going to get them all back in place right. And this is the correct AC condenser for this truck. And there's a little stud right here. There's a little bracket that comes up and bolts in here, and it's rubber mounted. And I get all of this put back the way that it goes. So I'm happy to get that. Now I bought a 3-core radiator. I showed you the aluminum one in the box over there. But I actually had brought the 4Runner that I had for parts in the United States. Had a 3-core radiator in it that I brought here to the Philippines. And I thought, oh, I'll put that in there. That'll be great. It's stock Toyota. It's a good quality one. And the necks are on the opposite side. And I know I can do some hosing and piping for that, but I really didn't want to. And I said, you know what, I'm just going to put a brand new 3-core aluminum radiator in it. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Hopefully when you guys see this in the future, when this project is done, hopefully this engine bay will be nice and tidy and cleaned up and not so chaotic. I'm over here right now. If you see, there's a lot of black tape laying all on the floor here. I'm over here unwrapping all of this 10 jillion layers of tape wrapped all over wiring everywhere. I want to inspect all this wiring. I want to map all this wiring. And any of this wiring that had to do with the old electronic fuel injection system and all kinds of relays for it to make it do this and that and on and on and on. I want this truck to old school basics. And any of this that I don't need, once I find out and map where all of these go, which I'll be going through doing and testing the wiring, got the battery back on it right now for that. What is junk will be eliminated. And what isn't junk, I'm gonna make sure the wiring's in really good condition, that there's proper joints or splices that's ever been done on it. If they did any like repairs and modifications, I feel they have right here in my hand. And I will put proper sleeving all back onto the wiring and all, and make it look nice and neat. I'm gonna have my breakfast. Look here, I got this beautiful young lady. Wow. Woo, brought me my breakfast. Yeah. Breakfast with a smile and dirty hands. My dirty hands, not yours. All right, thank you, baby. My little sweet niece, I love her. Thank you. Tell Mama and Linda I said thank you. Okay. I'm here right now getting this junk wiring. All this unwrapped while they put it underneath so many pieces of tape. I see that these colors don't match, so that tells me there's a splice. See, I'm starting to see one right here right now. In fact, see, I knew it. There's splices in there, see? And I want to investigate those. Is this wiring I still need after the modifications on this truck? Find the end of this tape again. It's all brittle. And these are some of the things I'm doing to improve this vehicle's reliability. I just need it kind of basic here, and I don't really need it hyped up. I don't want it like rolling coal. Not for this application. So I have to get some here, razor blade, and I think and cut this. And see, there's just like a stray wire right there. Look, there's copper sticking out the end. These are the things I'm going to address. Let me get a cutter here, so I'll find out what these different circuits go to as well. This ran around over, and it was on that side of the truck, on what's now called the passenger side. I guess you gotta be careful what you call passenger side according to what country you're in. And yeah, this is the type of chaotic mayhem that I'm going to get rid of. Look here how they just fold it. Look here, there's a wire twisted onto a wire, and then it was just bent over in there and wrapped up inside like that, with another wire next to it bare also. So this is the kind of chaos that I'm trying to get rid of. Well, whatever that is, it's really stiff too. I think there's might even be possibly a third wire in there, I'm not sure. So wow, what a rat's nest. This is why I just keep throwing in the floor over here. Show you a little bit more. So I'm going to continue removing all of this off of this wire and many others, and start exposing it out. And so while I wait for shipments for parts and stuff on the truck, and just look at this. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. While I wait for shipments for parts on the truck, I can meanwhile map all of this, find out what each one is to, and if it's not needed, I'm going to eliminate it. So I'm down here working in the engine bay, still unwrapping wires, and I'll give you a little bit more perspective. Boy, every time you touch this truck, you turn black. But this is up in the corner by the fender well. Up in here is the wiper motor, here's the battery, and you got a large wire loom coming up. And what do you see right there? This bare copper wire sticking right through the tape. Look at that. I'm gonna wrap this and let's look at that. So peel that off, and that wire is just poorly put together, and it comes back over here to a connector. I have to map all of this down and get all this correct. I'm probably going to remove all of this big glob of tape all the way down this harness right here, and just expose everything, because ever there's a wire still sticking out. Where am I here? Yeah, here we go. Is everywhere still just a wire sticking out somewhere, everywhere, all over the place. But it's not going to be like that when I'm done. And I'd say probably a great part of these are eliminated after the electronic fuel injection, and then the EGR stuff wasn't working and has been eliminated. So yeah, a bunch of this is probably just null and void. Good afternoon, everybody. So I'm still out here working on the truck, and what a nightmare. And I've washed my hands probably half a dozen times because I don't want to throw away a half dozen pair of gloves. So I've been ripping this wiring down. Look at all this tape I have right here. Look at all that. That has all been peeled so I can find what all the mess is here. And I just have something to show you. I know you're going to shake your head. So I told you this was once a right-hand drive. They converted to left-hand drive here in the fields. But look at all of these splices on the wiring harness. Look at this. Now, this was wrapped earlier. I unwrapped all of it. Even some of the factory wrap, and some of it wasn't factory wrap. But up in here amongst this was 27 wires here, because there's a couple of each in these. 27 wires that head inside to the dash. Here's another one. Here's another one. And they were all just dead ends in here. Just in here, dead ends. Now, I've had this truck, like I say, since 2016, so that doesn't necessarily mean this is a bad thing. I just want to unclutter it, because whatever these went to has not kept the truck from working since 2016. You know, it charged, the lights work, you know, the windshield wipers work, the horn works, all the stuff works. So what all this went to at this moment, just right now, I don't know yet. Now, in 92, when this truck was new, it was probably a loaded out version of a 92 vehicle. It had all the bells and whistles that you would have got on a vehicle back then. And Toyota loved to put bells and whistles. So, hey bro. And Marlon coming home from duty. He's got his security uniform on. Look at that handsome man. It's my brother-in-law. These wires here apparently were for the things they felt that it needed. Now, I also have a string of wires loose like this laying down in here right now, kind of hanging down in there, that were also going this way and not connected to nothing. So what all this went to, I don't know. It had 10 million sensors on it and all before, but I'm gonna work it down, and I haven't found anything that's kind of like not been adulterated. It just seems like hands have been on every single spot in this truck. But I'm honestly gonna go in there to the dash right here, the firewall where these go through. I'm gonna start finding these wires and tugging on them and pull them through into the dash, because I told you, whatever they were, they hadn't been needed to use since I bought the truck in 2015, I believe is when it was. So if they hadn't been needed all this time for the last 10 years, they're not needed now, because everything I needed to work on this truck was pretty much working. There's a couple things that was giving a little trouble, and I had to address here and there. So I have found some other things. So earlier, Cap and I were out here looking at this, and this right here had a wire. If you slid this back, the blue wire going in this was just hanging out here in the air, and it had a little pigtail piece over here about this long, and it's like somebody just snipped it in two. Well, that goes to the rear windshield wiper, okay? And so now I want to tell y'all something. There's positive all the time. There's two pumps on the back of here, okay? One's for the front windshield wiper washer, and the other one's to the back windshield wiper washer. And these stay hot all the time. So if you check the terminals, the positive is always hot, because on some of these vehicles what they do is they switch the grounds. So you're not switching power on to it, you're switching ground onto it. Not positive, but instead the negative. And that one wire was cut in two, and I really don't know why, but they snipped it in half. And we chased it down, and the circuit's working, the switch is working, and I got a broken end out of here in the connector and replaced the blade connector inside of it, cut the wire, replaced it. You can see the edge of the shiny new one there. And got this back working and not cut in two, and this is to my rear washer, and it's working and squirting water now. So there's a repair done. I'm chasing down in here on this fuse box. There's some things in here that's no longer needed and that there is needed. We're going to get rid of that glow plug right there. We're going to get rid of that big fuse to it. And up here, this is my factory fan for the air conditioner, and it still works. But like I say, everything's been adulterated. So I cut some tape off of here earlier, but I didn't do this. This is a cut, got about 1.5 inch, 2-inch piece, and then twist it together again on the negative side, and it's been cut on the positive side. But why even have that piece in there? It's crazy. And it's all wrapped up in tape. And then they had a wire jumped in here and jumped in up here on another place coming in off the air compressor wire here, so that little yellow wire can be removed. They had that jumped in up here on the air compressor wire. But this fan has a relay already of its own when it's supposed to come on. I've just got it sitting there right now as I'm dry fitting everything while I'm doing the intercooler and the condenser back in it. So then over here on the other side, it was cut again. Yep, cut twice. Anytime the air conditioner's turned on, this fan automatically starts blowing on the end of the condenser to help disperse the heat away, especially like if you're in low speed situations and idling and all. So second that AC is turned on, the relay is supposed to trip and turn this fan on. So I need to chase all that down and make sure it's working right. Then I'll unplug this. This fan's still working really strong. We tested earlier. And I'll give it a fresh paint job, get it all cleaned up and get it all painted fresh and new. This is original Toyota equipment. And we'll get this harness back as good as new again here too. Well, the work continues on. Look at all this mess right here. This is all wiring and tape that I pulled out of the truck. And what I want to draw your attention to the most is this right here. You see these two relays and you see all this taped together. Look at all these different color wires everywhere, and it's two relays, but they're doubled up. So each one's tied to the other one with the same wires, making two relays work as one. So you see all that. And then it had a whole bunch of this other white wire going to it. And this was going to a positive to a relay from the fender there on the truck, and this had a big old ground and was like another piece of this yellow wire wrapped up in here. And you see where I cut it right here. Look, it's still all wrapped around a bolt down in there as a ground and all. And ever since I had the truck, those have been flopping down in here. And ever since I had the truck, I've had a horn issue. And sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. And I said, well, once again, one of these days I'm going to tackle all this. So going to these relays was a wire coming here, and it was spliced on another wire, spliced on another wire, and I took the light out and I followed it down here, and I removed all the little short little pieces of wire they had, and I got down in here and I said, wait, look at the color of that. That is the same as the wire on the horn. So I slid it over here. I will demonstrate. I slid it over here. Twisted them directly together. Went there and pushed the horn. Horn worked perfect. Now, you might say, well, they did that for a horn relay. The truck already has a horn relay inside. Why would it need it to go through two more double up, you know, for a little basic horn? And then there's another horn on the other side where there was a big glob of wiring that was stuffed up and around and back down, and a a whole bunch of wire patched together, and all it did was like a bundle of like 3 wires with a jillion pieces of tape and heavy gauge wire. Came over here just to use 1 wire. For the one over here on the other side, they went to the horn. So right now, what I'm going to do is I've got some new wiring. I've got my soldering gun out. I'm not going to put butt connectors. I am going to solder those joints, and then I'm going to slide this heavy duty heat shrink sleeve. This is like a nice thick one down over that after I solder it, and then it'll get, you know, all the covering on the wiring. I'll buy all new stuff and put on everything when I'm done. But the good quality heat shrinks is going to be the key. So that's what I'm about to do here right now. I'm about to solder this up. So I got it soldered up there. Now I'm able to find the same color code wire for the jumper for one horn to the other. I don't have any wiring this color, so it won't be color matched. Normally I use my heat gun for this, but for tonight we'll just use this. And there we go. And that'll all get sleeved when we're said and done. And I'm gonna work on the other side now. Another little thing fixed. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Getting another day started down here in the garage. Working on the truck. Yeah, enjoying it. I want to pick up where I left off last night out here. Working, which was mapping out wires, soldering wires, and heat shrinking wires. Yeah, and trying to make the best job I can for going back on all this. So the saga will continue today because I got a lot of wiring still to track down and figure out. A lot of it is just garbage. Just look at all that. This is, other than the can of WD-40, this is all stuff that's came out so far not needed. When I say not needed, doesn't mean like not needed because I'm stripping the vehicle. It's not that. It's stuff that has been done previous to me on it that's just like madness. It seems like nothing has been left unadulterated. So I'll get it all straight and clean and back reliable and beautiful. But as odd as it was, everything pretty much still worked in the past except a few little small things, and those are the things I'm tackling first, and get those knocked out. Man, it's really nice that I've got a horn working again that I always wondered why that horn didn't always want to work right and stuff. Don't understand all their madness they did on that. Yeah, let's see if it's still working today. Yup. How you like that, boy? Yeah. Before, it would just work random. It's because they had a bunch of weird junked up relays going through relays over another relay. Alrighty. So anyway, I'm gonna get back on it here and we'll see how this day goes. So I'm here chasing down the compressor power for the AC compressor. I had intermittent problems with it before too, and just look at this. Look at this right here. Look at this work. This is in the wire that plugs on the back of the air conditioner compressor. So you see it spliced together here, and that goes into this harness here. Right here, this plugs onto your pressure sensor. So if you have Freon, it'll let it come on. If there's none, it won't let it come on, so you don't burn up the compressor. Well, I can already see with this big knot right here, that's got a bunch of splice work in it. And then we got the big long wrap of electrical tape again, and that goes in here and comes from the fuse box. And I can see that there is another splice on it right behind here again. You see that right there? Look at that. There's another big splice, and then that comes in. And then, like I say, there's this splice here, but wait, there's more. Look at there where it's been all dug into and wires exposed there as well. So this is what I'm doing. I'm going through finding all this stuff. And where am I going to start here, Will? Well, I'm going to start back here in the back of the truck. So I had this box to come in, and this is my liners. So when we bore it, we'll be putting these liners in there, and to keep it back to original spec. So there's the liners that'll get put in. They sent me pistons today, and I received them yesterday, and I opened them up, pistons, rings, and liners, but the pistons were the wrong ones. And I know the part number that I need, 1310-54090, and they sent me 070s, which are a totally different piston, different height, different specs all over it. It's just a total, it's not just simple by that one number, a 7 or a 9. It is a whole different piston. The rings are the same, so that's no problem. But the liners they sent me are correct. That's no problem. But the piston was 100% wrong.